welcome to our viewers and listeners of the Partnership Publishing Podcast. Now, today we're really excited to announce our special guest, Sam Shepherd, our debut author under Magic Mouse Books, with his new book, Dogchester PD, The Great Bone Robbery. Now, usually I'd show you the book, but because Sam's been so successful, we don't have one. So Sam's going to show you what it looks like for those that can see. Beautiful. Amazing illustrations from Happy Designer. And Sam, if you want to, for the people that can't see, if you want to read the blurb and we can get a bit of an idea of the book.
Yep. Well, basically, Chief Growler is the head of the police department in the town of Dogchester, which is in the Kingdom of Boneland. Now, his role is to keep law and order in Dogchester PD. But when there's been a large theft of golden bones from the bank, he sends Detective Snooper and Snatcher on the trail to investigate what has happened. Meanwhile, Deputy Gruff is trying to work out whose idea it was to hire identical twins. Come along and join the detectives in their first adventure of the Dogchester PD series.
Beautiful. So you're really good at reading that from all your events at schools, aren't you? You've got the voice down.
I'm used to it now, yeah. I tend to do the book without looking at it most of the time.
Well, for people that you've just heard that, it's all about these policing dogs. And in the back, it's in the About the Author page, you say that you're a retired police officer. Was it 32 years?
32 years, yeah.
Yeah. If you want to tell us a bit about your experience of that and how it's inspired the book.
Well, obviously, over the years, I've dealt with many different things and many different people. And my other love of my life is dogs. So during the start of lockdown, I basically got a bit bored, and suddenly I had these ideas came into my head, and it was because obviously my extensive knowledge of the police and my knowledge of dogs, the two together was a natural combination. Mm-hmm. And it just sort of went from there. And the actual stories that I write are inspired by not necessarily specific events, but the morals in the back relate to things that come out in policing and in just good citizenship. The first one, for example, the moral is about not stealing. The characters in the book, some of them are based on policemen. You know, a couple of the comedic ones are definitely based on policemen. And I'll give the secret that the Chief Growler, he's actually based on a gentleman called Sir James Anderton, who was Chief Constable of Greater Manchester Police, where I was a police officer, late 1970s, early 80s, and probably one of the best chiefs we've ever had. Sarah, the Happy Designer, I sent her a photograph of him, and she's actually managed to incorporate it in his face. And I've shown it to former colleagues who've retired with me, and they can recognise it. So she's done a pretty good job.
Oh, she always does. She always does. Yeah, you mentioned then about the morals at the back of the book.
Yeah.
The big one is about not stealing. And there's also a piece in there about how important teamwork is.
Yes.
And working as a team. And with these kind of morals that you're wanting to teach children, what are your aims with writing books for children? What do you hope to accomplish and teach?
Couple of things, really. Once you engage them into want to read him, because I try and make the book funny. I also try and write it in a way that some of the jokes will appeal to parents, because if parents don't like a book, they're not going to read it to the children. So I'm hoping to combine the two there. So to improve reading, to give the police a bit of better exposure than they currently give themselves. And to get children to understand that policemen are not just about catching baddies, they're about helping people. When I'm doing my school visits, I do a few anecdotes that show that. And just in general, the end moral is sort of promoted. I'm trying to tie it in with good citizenship, which is what we teach in schools now under PCSE. And I think my letterbox is about to go. The post. Sorry about that. Anyway, yeah. So I'm trying to teach them something about being good citizens, really. And the moral is not just about not taking it in the first place, but if you find it, give it back or give it to an adult. So that's what I'm trying to promote there.
And I think you do a really good job of that. You're very proactive, and it's amazing for us to see, because when you write a book, I think a lot of people think, oh, that's it. But it's not. You've got so much to do afterwards, and if you've got the time like you do, being proactive is really important for the success of the book and reaching those goals. And you've been doing lots of school visits, haven't you? If you want to tell us a bit about them. I think you had one yesterday, didn't you?
I did. I had a great one yesterday. I did 4 45-minute sessions, so by the end of it, I was absolutely shattered. I could have slept for a week. But yeah, I try and do no more than 2 a week, because I find it a bit too tiring to do more than that, because they can be quite intense. And I've done varying different backgrounds with primary schools, some in very poor areas, some in not so poor areas. But the general thing's been the same. If you get the kids engaged in the story, and what I do is I break off a lot while I'm reading it. I don't just read it, ask them. I break off and I ask them questions. So, to make sure I know they're listening and they're taking it in. And it does focus them. I do it a little bit shorter for reception groups, because after about 20 minutes, they get incredibly fidgety and quite difficult to sort of maintain. Obviously, the more that I've done, the better I've got at it. And I can engage them quite well now. And then I do the dangerous thing of having a Q&A at the end of it, which with the younger groups, like reception, you tend to get a lot of statements rather than questions. You know, my dad's called Fred or whatever things. As the older ones, certainly yesterday in years 2 and 3, some of the questions were fab. And a lot of them can be personal. You know, my age is a popular one, but I'm not fussy about that, so I answer it. The strangest thing is at the beginning, I asked them, before I became an author, what do you think I did? And the first one that nearly always comes out is a doctor for some reason. Now, I don't think I look like one. And eventually we get to police, and I've got a picture of me when we wore silly helmets on to show them. But they're very intrigued by the stories that I tell. Again, they've got a purpose to try and teach them certain things. I just find them great fun. They're the best part of being an author. They're really great to do.
Oh, yeah.
I found them challenging at first, but now I really just embrace them. And like I say, I do no more than a couple a week, because it's just too intense, really.
Well, it's still incredible that you're even doing a couple a week. Like a lot of our authors, it's getting that confidence in the first place to even do one. But I guess it's amazing to see the reaction and the impact that you're having on these children. Would you say that's your favourite part of the events? Or?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yesterday was another typical example of other days. As I was leaving, I have to go through the canteen and they're all having a lunch. And when you've got about 150 kids waving bye-bye and shouting to you at the same time, it's a brilliant feeling.
Yeah,
everybody's looking at you thinking, who's he? All the kids are waving. And it's great. No, I think it has a good impact. I've emailed an awful lot of schools. It must be about 900 now. And you're only getting a percentage of them. But so far, I think I've done 20 since the turn of the year. And to me, I'm more than happy with that, because you get an average number of books that get sold at each one. I mean, it varies. I mean, I've had as little as 1 book and as many as 82 in one particular morning. So it varies. But Yeah, it's been successful from the point of view of certainly selling books. And from the feedback I've had of teaching staff, it seems to have been very, very positive from the impact it's had on children and how they view things, not just about the morals, but about reading in general.
Yeah. And you mentioned there you've emailed so many schools, and I guess you'll never know if you don't try. What would your advice be for authors that would want to start doing events, or how to start, or finding your confidence?
I think initially you need to plan it out a little bit before you start sending your invites out in case you get some quick ones. But I think you need to plan yourself a little intro, which is a little bit about yourself. If you've got some stories about what you've done that could be of interest to children, put them in, and then lead into your actual story, but have a working copy and at different points have notes so that you can break off, ask a question, get some feedback, make sure they're listening, or get them back on track if they're getting a bit fidgety. But don't do what I did the first time round. When I was signing the books, I signed the working copy to one child and gave it them out. Didn't realise I'd done it. Asked for it back and got told no, because it could be important in the future. So that was an interesting one. And then, prepare yourself for a bit of a Q&A. And I think ask the teachers, if teachers respond to you asking you to come in, ask them what the kids are studying at the time, because there are quite a few schools at the moment that are doing Sir Robert Peel and policing in PCSE, whatever, I can never say it. So that's tied in really nicely with me. So ask them what they're learning, because you might be able to tie it in, and then just go for it. At the end of the day, 100% more than the children do, because they don't know what's in your book, you do.
No.
And if you make a mistake, they've no idea that you've made one. So just go for it. And the first couple will probably be a little bit tricky at first until you get into it. But once you get into it, you'll find you enjoy them.
Exactly. And I think there's absolutely nothing to lose, is there?
No, nothing at all.
It can only be a positive experience. So that's really brilliant advice. And I know from speaking with you previously, you've got grandchildren on all different school ages, haven't you? What was their response to Grandad being an author?
Well, the thing we did with they range from 19 to 4. I got to the 19 and the 16-year-old were completely stunned that Grandad could write a book, and then went round telling all the mates at school, because we were dead chuffed. The younger ones, we got the mums and dads read the book. My children read the book to them, but didn't show them the back page. Then asked them about it and then showed them the picture. And apparently there were a few squeals. The children were quite, it's Grandad. And they now read it on a regular basis.
That's amazing.
And they keep asking me when the next one's coming out. So they're my best critics. They tell me about, I ask them honestly what they think. They tell me who the best characters are. And they'll be more honest than anybody with me, so that they're the best people I've got, really. And initially I was only going to write it for them, and it just took on a life of its own. Yeah,
it really has. And I think that kind of leads on to the next question, with them asking about book 2. What is the future for Sam Shepherd and Dogchester PD?
Hopefully, if this year continues the way that it has, we will be working together on getting the second one out sometime next year, because obviously it'll take a while, because I know Sarah's very busy, and I won't have any other illustrator. I think she's done a fabulous job, absolutely amazing job. When I first saw the book, the front page even was how I imagined it in my mind, and I hadn't told her. She got that herself from reading the book. So the characters came across just great. So I know it'll take a while for her to do it. So I'm hoping back end of this year that we can start to work on the second one. I mean, obviously it's already written, but it needs editing and stuff like that. Hopefully the future means more of Dogchester PD, and more children engaging and reading better and maybe becoming better citizens because of it.
Yeah, and I think with the amount of people and the outreach of this book, I can really, really see that happening. Just before we leave, I'd like to tell everyone, you are on social media, and I was looking this morning at your author website, and it's dogchesterpd.com, is it? Or
It is, yeah. It's
and
still in infancy, that. Yeah. As you can tell.
Well, honestly, I strongly recommend that everyone goes and checks it out because it's such a brilliant author website. I mean, you've given all the characters a little backstory, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, I've given them a little bio. And, you know, even down to liking donuts and stuff like that, yeah. Yeah, they've all got a little backdrop. And obviously, as we get more characters, more will be introduced. But obviously, I'm trying to do the site, trying to do social media, trying to do as a one-man band. It's hard. So the site is very basic. So if people go on it, just bear with me. It's getting better. But yeah, I think the bio page for the characters is quite interesting.
Yeah.
And I hope to build on that.
You've even got there's quizzes, isn't there?
I've put one quiz on and I'm building a second one. The first one's obviously about the book, so if you want to do the quiz, people, you're going to need to read the book. The second one that I'm doing is about the origins and stuff about the police. So it requires a little bit of research. I'm trying to make them not too complicated because obviously the age group I'm at, I don't want to confuse them, but by the same rule, I want to teach them something. So if I can teach you something about the origins, that's the second one. And then I've got a few ideas for some more. There's going to be a few more quizzes on there. Yeah.
And you've got, there's merchandise in there as well, isn't there? You've got the hoodies and the caps.
I've got the hoodies and stuff at the moment that I'm just finishing off sourcing, which is why I've sort of left them as out of stock at the moment. But they're ready to go. Yeah. And then obviously the book's on there. And there will be more books on there hopefully in the future. So it's something that's going to develop. Maybe in time, depending on success, I might hand it over to somebody else to do probably a better job than I'm doing, because they can spend more time doing it.
Yeah. Well, Dogchester PD can be purchased through your website and through our online bookshop. So I highly recommend everyone goes to check it out. And hopefully, Sam, you'll be back for episode 2 on our podcast with book 2 very soon. Well, it was lovely to speak to you.
And you.
And I'll see you later.
And it's been very enjoyable. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye everyone. Bye-bye.